Right here, RIM CEO Thorsten Heinz kicked off the BlackBerry World Developers Conference today by unveiling the company's latest operating system, BlackBerry 10. But so far, investors seem unimpressed with the stock, suffering a 5% sell-off in today's session. So, too little too late here. Let's bring in technology blogger Jonathan Geller, editor-in-chief of the Boy Genius Report, otherwise known as BGR. Jonathan, it's always great to see you. Essentially, from what you saw, you still think RIM is dead?
I mean, like, there's no other way to say it. I love the company, but at the end of the day, they're really not doing much. You know, they've had 2 years since they purchased QNX, which is the basis of their new operating system. They've only showed us 3 screens, and they're really just not that interesting. They're not that different. There's not much differentiation. And, you know, you have to look at when they're coming out with their first phone, and that's, you know, around October, which I reported. And what's going to be out in October? You have a new version of Android, you have a new iPhone, you have a new OS for iOS. So I think there's all these headwinds that they're not going to be able to sort of get through.
Let's be fair, though. You have not seen a prototype yourself.
I have not seen the prototype myself.
Okay. Just curious, because that makes a big difference, I would imagine. Or it could. It could.
Yeah. So let's take you to the other side, John, because I know you're a gadgety kind of a guy, but I mean, from a valuation perspective, this stock is ridiculously cheap. It's optically cheap, which means we don't think it's really that cheap. But, you know, at what point do you really think that this is, let's go back to a takeout play? Because, you know, people are looking at least the enterprise value and the patent value of this company and saying they're not going to grow internationally. And that's the one thing about it, because all the places where Samsung and Apple say that they've actually got growth. These guys, no one's even going to touch them over there. The only place they have left is here. So where do you go here?
Well, you know, you're absolutely right. I mean, if you look at it, though, what are they worth? What are their patents worth? I think even at a $10 billion valuation, they're still too expensive for someone to buy. You know, there are rumors that Amazon was poking around, that Microsoft was poking around. I reported that they had very, very high levels with Samsung, high-level meetings with Samsung. That didn't go anywhere. So what's RIM's real value? Is it their IP? Is it maybe their infrastructure? But again, all of their things that they've done so well aren't really useful anymore. Their security features and, you know, network is not such a big deal anymore with the iPhone and Android. So really, what do they have? You know, a plastic keyboard? I mean, that's really what the company is kind of reduced to.
That's why I chose one over.
Yeah, it's, you know, but even everybody here on this desk probably has one, other than guy who's probably got a tin can.
Speak for yourself there.
Want to go out to Steve while he's just playing the role of the contrarian for us tonight. And Steve, you're actually in RIM. You think it could be a takeover candidate?
I do. I don't own the stock, but I have been looking at it. It acted great up until today. I think what you really have to focus on is that the new CEO has changed the culture of the company, not all the way because it takes a while, but the company never before would have been this open about a new product. Now, maybe they gave it out earlier, but that's to get developers signing up for it and creating product for it. So I think that what we've just heard from Boy Genius is not Boy M&A Genius, but Boy Tech Genius, and from the rest of the desk is what everybody knows. So the opportunities on the upside there, I think you have a good opportunity to get in a speculative part of the portfolio.
Does he make any fair point? I mean, Thorsten Heinz has only been in for
But here's why. Thorsten was in charge of all of BlackBerry North America for the past 4 or 5 years.
Right.
He was the guy that was responsible for their sales problem. Mike Lazaridis is still on the board there, is still, I think, VP or directing some of their strategy. And Jim Basile, who was co-CEO, actually left because RIM would not take into account their new strategy, which would have been smart, and that's to go on software, their licensing, bring BBM to different platforms. That was a great strategy.
I'd take the other side of Steve on this. I think you have been genius on this. Wall Street thinks that they're valuation geniuses. You know, tech is littered with cheap stocks getting cheaper. If you have the same management team and the same product, what do you have? Is that basically your call? Until you show me product, you show me a lower stock price?
Absolutely. And you know what? I want them to deliver, but up until this point, all they've done is promise and promise and promise every year. And you know what? Amateur hour is not over.
Right. All right, Jonathan, we've got to leave it there, but we always appreciate you coming by.
Thank you so much.
Jonathan Geller of the Boy Genius Report. And IDC is already estimating the RIM CEO